Hello and welcome to the podcast, Anna. How's it going?
Great. How are you, Katie?
Doing great. I'm excited to chat. Thanks for meeting with me.
Of
I will give you a
course.
second. If you want to dive in, you can talk about your name, your role, job title, industry, whatever you want to say about your job.
All right, perfect. So, yeah, my name's Anna. I am currently a sustainability project manager. Title industry can fit under consulting, but also kind of energy efficiency or green building.
I love that. And then how did you ultimately find this job?
Okay, so I post college had nothing lined up, did not know what I was doing, and I did that route of going on LinkedIn and I was kind of burnt out, so I clicked every easy apply I could find that had the word sustainability and the title. I feel very fortunate that this company actually saw my application and decided to reach out. So,
No, that's awesome. I feel like that's intimidating when you do the easy apply. It's both so easy and so many times you hear nothing. So I feel like it's good to
mhm.
hear a success story. I love that. Then when you ended up choosing this job, what made you pick this specific job?
Full transparency, only job offer I got. So this is my first job out of college. And whether or not you ask for it when you're in college, you're going to get a lot of advice that people just want to share and they want to share about their own journeys. And you're like, oh no, did I pick the wrong major or did I not start job searching soon enough? So I think I chose this path over others because it checked that one big thing off the list, which is like, I would love for my major to somewhat apply to my work. I would really want that direct connection. So the fact that it was a company that has sustainability values, job title had the word sustainability in it, which it doesn't have to, but that was really exciting.
So did you major in sustainability or what was your major there?
I did major in sustainability science. So I went to Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. It's a small private liberal arts college. It's one of the few I found that actually has made its own Bachelor of Science curriculum for sustainability science. A lot of the larger universities I looked at, sustainability at the time was a certificate or a minor. So you wouldn't have been able to say that's like your actual major. So I
Yeah.
was really excited to like specialize in something. Looking back, do people really look at your majors? But now I know.
Is there anything now looking back that you would have done differently if you were starting this over again?
Um, so one of the quotes that this question made me think of is like, you don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah.
I think I'm a big believer in really trusting the opportunities given to me in each season and really trying to just commit 100%. So there's nothing I would change. I definitely have had my fair share of moments at this job where I'm like, oh, should I have said that? That was an inside thought, or oh, that was a little awkward, or even just like feeling embarrassed and maybe no one else thought that, but I felt embarrassed. And definitely I made a lot of mistakes, but definitely wouldn't change anything because it's given me a lot of life lessons for me to take to my next job. I'm kind of now learning as I've been a bit more established the importance of setting workplace boundaries. And in that, realizing I think in those first few years, you have so much energy, you're so excited, like, oh, you have a job. And then now I'm kind of realizing as I've had a few stages of burnout, just like, oh, I really need to reinvest in my self care. I really need to reestablish that I have a life outside of work because the 9 to 5 is a lot. And then I've really been working on kind of what is my identity outside of work. As much as I love my work, I'm more than my work.
100%. Especially if you go into an industry, I feel like where you're passionate about it, it's hard to separate yourself from the job. Where if you just
Mm-hmm.
work and it's so unrelated to your core beliefs, I feel like this is interesting when it's sustainability, where it's like they're kind of intertwined. So I feel like that's a good thing to think about and kind of difficult, I would say. But I guess getting into all of this, what do you actually do? So like what is your job?
Oh, great question. So, high level, what would be good to understand is my company specializes in existing buildings. So, what that means is we're looking at buildings that are already built and occupied. So, a lot of our clients' buildings, it is buildings built back in the 80s and the 90s, or maybe they were just built. But I'm not on this construction side. So, I think when you hear about green building, you're hearing about these kind of fancy buildings that have like all glass and like fun angles. Like I don't get to do that. I'm not an architect and I'm not in construction management. On this flip side, there's this, I think, philosophy, right? When you think of sustainability and how can we be sustainable, specifically in this industry, there's this idea of why would we tear down a building that could be fixed? So we have these buildings, maybe because of pandemic, there's not as many people in them, or the job function of the building isn't as needed. But our company's philosophy is we rather make sure it's operating as efficiently as it can, and it's still standing, it still works. Why would we tear it all down? And I would say if you do look into the statistics of waste, construction waste is one of the top three. And then if we look into just what do we interact with as humans in our everyday life, buildings is a big one. So knowing that context, my company is a small engineering and environmental consulting firm. We're only about 10 employees, which is actually crazy.
Wow.
When I tell other people, I forget that, like, oh, that's like really small. We're based in Atlanta, Georgia. They've been around for about 20 plus years though, so really established, and it's kind of the co-founder's choice to stay more small. But we have clients all over the US, and on the engineering side of things, they're going to be helping with energy audits, water audits, decarbonization. Really, hey, here's a building, how is it doing? How is it performing and operating? My team, these are the buildings that have established that they want to get a third-party verification through a green building certification. So examples of this would be LEED certification, Energy Star certification. There's also a wellness rating system called WELL Health Safety Rating that's popular. So the example I give people, if you've ever passed a really shiny hotel or a nice office building downtown, they probably have some stickers on the front door. I probably have gotten to help with that, which is really fun to say. As a project manager, I am working with owners and property management teams, and I am helping them go through that process to get the certification.
That's so cool. So is it oftentimes these companies reach out to your company, or is it ever like is there like a sales and a pitch process that your company goes through to get these deals?
Great question. Kind of unorthodox. We don't have a sales and marketing team. So actually,
Wow.
a lot of our clients have been historically word of mouth, and I think it shows a great deal to the co-founders and their expertise, and they've really built client relationships on trust and integrity. We're very big into, like, I would say the companies that do what we do, at the end of the day, they could take a client's data and be like, yeah, check the box, we're good. We're a company that really dives into it and is like, no, we're going to make sure this is correct. So I think built upon that, we've been really fortunate because a lot of the clients I even work with before I joined the company, they've been a client for 15 years. So
Wow.
a lot of that. And then buildings get sold. So let's say building got sold, or that property management team acquired a new building. That word of mouth helps. So they'll be like, hey, well, I worked with this one consulting company for my old building. We should hire them for this building. I'd say luckily with kind of some of the stuff that's happened in the economy for the past year, my company hasn't seen a shortage in any clients
Yeah.
yet. So that's been really huge in terms of stability.
Okay, that's awesome. I feel like you did a really good job explaining what you do. So thank you. That's so
Oh, thank
interesting
you.
too. I had no idea. Do you ever travel to these sites that you're working with or not so much? Yes.
A lot of travel. So definitely something that was really exciting. And one of my goals initially with the job is I was like, I really want to learn how to be a competent solo traveler. Love my parents. I don't think they set me up for it. I did not have much street smarts, very sheltered growing up. Going to college out of state. And then for this job, I did move to a brand new city where I didn't know anyone. And when they told me part of the job would be traveling, I was like, great, because I really knew I wanted to be put out of my comfort zone. So part of our services for these certifications, there's typically an annual indoor air quality testing that's required. So I am sent on site and I have about 2 to 3 devices with me, and I'm walking through the building with the building engineer, and I'm reviewing the building's equipment, HVAC system. There's a thing called the building automation system, which is like the computer that like connects to everything. Since I started, I would say I have a trip a month.
Okay, wow. So did you know how to use all those devices, or did they teach you and then they sent you on site? Because you said a lot of
Oh,
words that are impressive.
so they taught me on the job, which is really great. Again, this is an engineering company at heart. So the fact that I don't have an engineering background, that definitely scared me at first when I started the job. We do mainly have mechanical engineers. My first few site visits, I went with someone. I got to shadow, they taught me on the job. And then once you can do it alone, people are very happy to let someone else go do the travel.
That's so impressive. I feel like it's cool to be learning so many things while you're doing a job. So you're definitely diverse at this point, how many things you can do. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And then in terms of the job, is there anything that sticks out as being more rewarding when you're in this role?
For me, the most rewarding moment is definitely when you kind of get that recognition for the effort you're putting in. I think as a consultant, it can be that kind of awkward middle party because you're getting paid to do something that maybe who your point of contact is, they could care less, or like this isn't the most high priority thing on their list. So trying to tell people sustainability, like, hey, you guys need to be better at this or use less energy, or hey, we recommend spending this amount of money to fix something. They might not like hearing that from me. So the few times though where I get a client that's highly engaged, highly interested in sustainability and willing to put in that work and kind of meet me halfway. And then I have very specific memories of just certain clients on the call that are able to kind of give me that direct words of affirmation and say like, hey, Anna, you've been amazing. You've been such a good communicator and you've been organized and you've made this process easier. Then I know I'm doing a good job. And that's really rewarding.
That's good. I feel like it takes a lot of organization to be in your role, so it's good that you are organized.
I've gotten so
But
much better.
it's hard. I feel like it's so different when you start a job to like being in college or being in any other job to just, I don't know. It's difficult. So what do you do to stay organized, or what's been your best lesson learned in that organization?
Ooh, good question. I really like the sticky note app. I definitely need something like front on the screen. I probably am one of the people at the company that any meeting, I just like taking notes. No one has told me I have to be the note taker. I just like taking notes. So I think that's always been something that as if I write it, I'm gonna remember it more.
Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful. And I think people appreciate that too when you're taking notes. So I like that. Then I kind of love this question, but is there anything I feel like I'm a consultant too, and people get really confused because that can mean a million things. But what do
Mm-hmm.
people think your job is versus what it actually is?
I love this question. I've been with my boyfriend for about 3 years. When we were first dating, though, that was kind of something that took him a long time to figure out. And it was the funniest thing to me because I'm like, hey, do you remember what I do? And he's like, no. I'm like, come on, like it's so easy to me. I'm just teasing. But I just think that's a funny trope that most people don't know what their partners do for work.
Yeah, 100%.
I will say just the word sustainability, I think still gives people pause. I think if I say sustainability, most people still connect to recycling. So they're going to think something waste related, which is
Yeah.
part of my job, but it's not that. And also to say this term corporate sustainability, I think people might be more aware that there's these like sustainability standards or that more so public companies will release a annual sustainability report. Some of those buzzwords I think people know nowadays, but what I actually do because it's so niche is that existing building side. It is not many people are in it. A lot more people would understand the construction side and working with all the stakeholders involved there. And then my side of things, it's, as I said, just very niche. I think how I explained it earlier, most people would not have a job that covers so many different certifications all in one company.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I do think what you said is interesting too. I feel like whether it's partner or parents or friends, like no one knows what people do. So that's kind of why we're here. I'm like, it's so interesting what people actually do, but you never really take this much time. So that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So similarly, off of that, what kind of surprised you the most once you started this role?
Let's see. I want to, I still think about it. And what I do remember from the book is it shares one of the statistics that we spend 90% of our lifetime indoors. I'm like, no way it's
Whoa.
90%. Like that's too high. And then I kind of did a self audit exercise and I was like, how do I spend my time? And I'm in Atlanta. I just moved there and I look up what to do in Atlanta. Top 10 activities are indoors. Like going to the aquarium, World of Coke is indoors. Go to these restaurants, well, that's all inside. Maybe go to like a museum, that's inside. So I'm like, oh no. And we sleep inside and we work inside a building. All that connected to really the work I'm doing, which is it's very focused on indoor air quality. It's focused on how much our environment shapes our health and our spaces, or just indoor spaces are so important to our productivity. Yeah, I've gained a lot of appreciation for that. I think this is also, for reference, I joined the company in 2022. Post-pandemic, but still people are just coming back to work. So kind of being close to a person and like
Yeah.
learning that actually like, hey, filters are really important and masks actually do like work. I agreed with that, but now I knew the science behind it, which is really exciting. And then part of the job with the site visits, I am working with either a building engineer or facility management. And that is very behind the scenes work. I think this is one of those jobs that we don't appreciate because we don't see it. Learning kind of the behind the scenes to operate and air condition and heat a giant big 10-floor office building. That's a lot of stuff. And they have to know all of it. And they also have to deal with all the maintenance requests of tenants being like, hey, I'm too cold, I'm too hot, hey, the door doesn't work, like my badge isn't scanning. Like they deal with all of that. So I just have gained so much more appreciation for their job, and also, hey, be nice to people, guys. Like this is how I feel. Like
Yeah.
if you've never worked in like food service or retail, until you do it, then you gain so much appreciation for what they have to go through, right? I feel like I've gotten that same kind of clean the glass lenses and been like, oh, wow, there's a lot that goes into energy and has made me so much more aware of appreciating the spaces I get to be in.
That's such an interesting take. I'm like still thinking about the 90%. I feel like that's going to sit with me for a long time and I might do a self audit. I'm kind of floored. I had no idea. That's really interesting though. And I feel like it does bring such a good perspective. So
And that's
that's
not a
definitely,
bad thing, but then it
no.
definitely made me think, oh, I should get outside more.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's a high number. Yeah, that's so interesting. No, I think that's a good perspective and definitely surprising. Then, contrary to the surprise, is there anything that you found to be the most stressful part of this job?
I think it's with the traveling, there's a lot out of my control. So that's probably the most stressful
Yeah.
things is anything during a site visit. Because we're only based in Atlanta, I'm flying out. So maybe I'm there for one night. Maybe it's an up and back in one day. Really trying to be mindful of my client's time. And if you don't know, building engineers, they start at like 4 a.m. in the morning or maybe 5 a.m. So they're not
Oh
like,
my.
I have to test when there's people in the building. The earliest I can do is 9 a.m. I really try to be respectful of their time. If we have multiple clients in the same geographic location, we do try to group it because that can help with lowering costs for the client. Let's say in one day I have 3 site visits. Well, if one site visit gets late because my flight's delayed, well, that pushes the rest. Or if my equipment isn't stabilizing the correct way and I have to recalibrate it, well, then I have to make a judgment call of, hey, do I feel like I'm doing my job correctly? That's been probably the most stressful, knowing, man, I flew out here. It's really expensive if we fly someone else out. And it's also, wouldn't be on the client, it would be on us to take that cost. I think in that sense, site visits is where I probably get the most nerves and kind of just that feeling that pressure of, hey, I'm representing my company. I need to show that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think at least for myself, I felt like I learned a lot when I had to speak to people who are higher up, and it definitely got more normal. But in the beginning, I was definitely practiced and rehearsed and nervous every time. So it's a good skill to have, but it's not easy. So I'm impressed that you're just soloed doing that.
Oh, thank you. And I don't want to be stereotypical, but I just don't know who they're expecting. Because sometimes I'll
Yeah.
come on site and I think, for reference, I'm in this like polo and like kind of outdoorsy pants. I think I look like an IT person. And it's just so funny because sometimes these building engineers typically are older white men. And I'm like, I think they just see me and they're like, what does she know? I'm like, I know. I'm just here to fill out a piece of paper. You're the
It's
expert.
hard. It is hard. I feel like other folks I've talked to on this podcast too, it's like just being in an industry that is male dominated as a woman is
Yep.
intimidating. I think it's good to kind of beat that intimidation factor, but a lot of people I've talked to are women, and it's been in every single industry. It's just like it's intimidating, and it's good people are
Yeah.
talking about it.
Like, how do we have to take up space, but we also still have to make the client think they're the smartest in the room. So it's like,
Yep.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard line to toe.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to figure out what's the best case or what's the best course of action.
Uh-huh. And ultimately, at least for my job, it's once a year I'm seeing these people. They don't remember me, but sometimes, at least it's been year after year, I'm going to the same buildings, and it's kind of funny if they remember me because I'm like, okay, now what do we talk about then?
You're like, wait, it's been a year. That's so interesting. Yeah, I guess it is different because I guess are you talking to them weekly as well, the people who you're visiting, or not so much?
Oh,
It's
that's a
different
good
folks.
question. My project timelines probably last 3 to 6 months, and then I'm more so working with the property management teams.
You're like, oh, what do you know that I've already, what am I repeating? What do you not know? And then figuring that out.
So one of our director of operations is also Asian, and she's like, I kind of took over her projects before she got promoted. So what's funny is I have been on site where the engineers are like, they just can't place if it was me or her. And I think it's because we look similar, and I try not to take that in a bad way, but I'm always like, well, it definitely could have been her because I don't think it was me. So
Oh
I
no,
just think it's
that's
really funny.
awful. Goodness gracious.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that definitely makes it more awkward than it already is. So that's
Uh-huh.
tough. Goodness.
I just like that they try to act like, oh, I remember you. I'm like, it's okay that you don't. Like, I'm not expecting you to remember me.
That actually wasn't even me, but I'm glad you remembered someone.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
That's crazy. And then kind of just wrapping up what your job looks like off of that is it common to work remote? I know you said you're hybrid. Is there remote opportunities in this industry?
I believe there are. I think for other companies that do similar stuff with lead consulting, I think I've seen remote options available. At my company, we have some engineers that work fully remote, but my job role specifically was not allowed to. But I do think it's possible. I think also travel would still be involved, remote or
Yeah.
not. But I will note at this company, for example, I grew up in Colorado. I just went home for some site visits I had there, but I stayed a few extra days and I was allowed to work remote. And so they don't take away from that, which is nice.
That is nice. I know it's hard when you live far away and you're like, if I'm going home, I might as well just stay for a while because it's such a
Mm-hmm.
trek.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. The next thing I wanted to get into is the work-life balance that you have. So wanted to start with how many hours are you realistically working each week or on average?
I would say about 30 hours a week. We do get a paid lunch break because we're salary, so I do get up to an hour lunch each day. And then Mondays are kind of more of my internal meetings. While those are important to my productivity, sometimes it is just catch up or kind of keeping that company culture where it's just everyone gets a chance to see each other because sometimes might not be working directly with one another in projects. So I'd say some of those meetings feel a bit more almost relaxing at times because I just get to be in a meeting. I'm not doing any other work.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, it still is work, but it's not as regimented, I guess.
Yeah.
Then after hours, let's say the job is done, is this job following you outside of work or what does that look like?
This company really did try to promote work-life balance. I have seen that in one of my bosses like has a 5-year-old child and she's allowed to leave at 4:30 to go pick him up from school. Or if the child's sick and she needs to stay home, like they're not going to make a fuss. Or yeah, if someone's sick, they're not like, hey, we still expect you to come in. Like they're very big. I'm like, no, take the sick day if you need it. I've not felt any obligation or expectation to respond past 5 o'clock. I will say I feel like there's sometimes been those few kind of fire alarm situations and I might get a message late at night, it is my choice to respond. I think the job can follow me if I let it. I have tried to be more mindful of like let's turn off notifications and like maybe don't check my email first thing when I wake up, which is a really bad habit.
Yeah, I know you started by saying you were like talking about those boundaries, and I feel like it's good to set that because starting off with email just spikes every stress part of your body
Oh
sometimes, and I'm
yeah.
just like, this is not, can't be healthy.
It's like it's crazy how things feel urgent. It feels urgent doesn't mean it is.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. It's silly when you look back and you're like, I was so stressed about this silly little unimportant thing. And not that it's not unimportant to the client, it's just in the grand scheme of things, sometimes the level of stress outweighs the reality, in my perspective, at least.
No, because at the end of the day, there is always more work.
Yeah.
And that's such a weird like framework or mindset shift from college because it's there is no you're done. You're never
Yeah.
done. So
Yeah, that is exhausting. So I agree.
yeah. Hmm.
Then, if folks are interested in a role like this, what would you define as something that separates people from succeeding or performing poorly or plateauing in a role like this?
Definitely was one of those jobs. I did feel a bit thrown into everything. They really wanted to get me up and running, and I kind of do wear a lot of hats. So if you're someone that maybe is a bit more on, hey, I want my job to match exactly what my job description said on the piece of paper, probably wouldn't be this type of role. I think for people that would succeed, those who have a lot of initiative and also have a lot of self-discipline. There's a lot of independent work. There's a lot of we're set up such that once I'm given a project, I get to own it start to end, which is really exciting. But that also is a lot on you. And while you can get help, at the end of the day, I'm the expert on the project. I know the most about it. So have had to have a lot of self motivation to just make sure I'm the one moving projects forward. And then the initiative part of, okay, let's say I need something I need my boss to review. I shouldn't just sit and wait. I really need to find something else to do. Where we've kind of had a few employees maybe not excel, I think the difference I've seen is they're not going to be asking questions. They're not kind of subconsciously thinking, oh, like I was asked to find insights on this. What if I just go ahead and find insights on this other thing? It
Yeah.
sucks because I think that sounds like a test or setup maybe to some people of like, why would I do more than what I'm asked to do? But I think at this job, you kind of need to because they want to see the people that are really actually focused on helping the client solve problems. And that means finding the problem.
Yeah, and I think that can be common too in small companies. I feel like you definitely wear more hats, and for the better or for worse, it's
Yep.
how it is. And it's, yeah, it's for a specific person, I would say.
I think the other thing in terms of plateauing, it's a small company. There's going to be some repetition. So I think in that
Hmm.
sense too, you're going to get good at what you're doing. If you're okay with continually doing that, that might feel like a plateau to the person, but for their definition of success, that consistency is success.
Yeah, no, that's a good take too. I like that perspective. Is there any kind of person that would hate this job or hate a job like this?
I thought this was a really good question. First and foremost, I kind of think you have to be interested in the subject matter. So, for
Yeah.
some reason, if I said, hey, do you want to know what makes buildings energy efficient? If that sounds so boring to you, no, you're not going to like this job. One of the main things that's part of all this job is looking at utility bills. Fun fact, if you don't know how to read your utility bill, I can help you with that. It's actually really important. People should learn how to do that. But that is something that I'm like, I'd say it's the core of the job. And it doesn't sound that glamorous. And then specifically for my role in the company, um, definitely it's the most client facing. So
Yeah.
if you don't like taking virtual calls and staring at yourself while they have their camera off, yeah, it's not fun because you have to do that a lot. And then, yeah, as we talked about some of that solo work travel, I think that it takes a specific type of person. I'm self scheduling all my site visits. I'm finding the flights, the hotel. I'm scheduling timing for transportation. I'm getting a rental car. If you weren't comfortable traveling alone, and even in a way, yeah, I'm meeting up with a stranger, even though they're a client, they don't know me. I think
Yeah.
it takes a certain type of extroversion to be
Yeah.
extroverted and to be able to communicate with strangers and still be professional. So definitely a skill you can learn. But if you're someone that gets anxiety on calls, maybe pick a role that's a bit more desk job.
I think it's impressive how you started by saying that one of your goals was to be self-sufficient traveling, and you just walked through like self-sufficiency 101, and I feel like you nailed it. So good for you. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I've always been a planner. I am very proud of my ability to make a good trip itinerary. So I'll say that.
That's a good skill. Good friend to have too. Definitely helps everyone. Then I know we talked a little bit about career progression, but what does career progression look like in this field?
For this field, I see in these green building certifications, they typically have some type of kind of professional certification you could pursue. So that is where you would take an exam and then you would get like a few letters at the end of your name on your email signature. But it actually is an important certificate. For LEED, you would actually start with your LEED Green Associate or LEED GA, which I have, and then you have to achieve that to then take your LEED Accredited Professional exam or LEED AP. I have a LEED AP for operations and maintenance rating system. There are LEED APs for each rating system they have. So there's building design and construction, which is on the construction side, interior design and construction. That would be with people that maybe are more on interior design. So that's like an office building doing renovations inside the building. And then I'm on operations and maintenance or O&M, which is for existing buildings. For well rating system, there is a well accredited professional exam. My boss actually has that one. I haven't taken it yet. And then there's a few others. For Energy Star, on that one, it'd be more engineering related. Energy Star certification, if people don't know, is a program through the EPAs, and it's a government agency. And for a building to earn Energy Star certification, a professional engineer or PE needs to stamp the application. So that is definitely on the engineering side. You would take an exam to become an engineer in training or EIT, and then you would move on to get your PE or professional engineer, and that's a whole another exam. Under a PE like for a non-engineering major, you could pursue what's called a certified energy manager or CEM. I've looked into that actually, if I, choose to end up staying in energy efficiency as a field. But definitely those all lean towards people with engineering backgrounds because you definitely need to have this understanding of thermo.
That's so interesting. I feel like there's so much in that field that it's overwhelming. But does your company kind of like promote people getting these degrees, or is it more like, so I want to do it, so I'm going to do it? How does that work?
Luckily, they are really big on professional development. So they did pay for my study materials and they paid for my exam. And I actually, for my LEED AP exam, I failed the first one. You need to get a 170 out of 200 points.
Okay, wow.
I got a 168. I was one question away.
That's the worst thing ever. Oh my gosh.
I went through a whole crisis. I was like, I've been out of college a few years. I forgot, I really thought I even knew how to study. I didn't take the exam for a second time until a year later. And luckily I passed that one. Did great. But it is kind of a pass-fail exam. And then my company also engineering team goes to an ASHRAE conference each year, and the sustainability team, our conference is called Green Build and focuses on that green building industry. So we both get to go to conferences, which is great for networking. So I've loved that opportunity.
That's a great answer. Wow, I feel like I just learned so much. Then with that, on the same vein, how does it work in terms of like salary progression? And if you're comfortable, like what did you make in your first year versus now, or whatever you're comfortable sharing with your salary?
I got to start with 60,000 as my salary. And then I am approaching 4 years at the company this August. Currently, my salary is 75,000. So each year I have been given a raise that has been able to match inflation or be maybe 1 or 2% higher, which is standard. And then my company is pretty unique in that they will offer performance bonuses. So I have been able to get a performance bonus each year, which adds into that total.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel like it's good to know where you're at now and then see. I have no idea the market for this role, so it's interesting to hear from you. So I appreciate it.
Of course.
Then, in terms of your lifestyle, and on that note, from those pay bumps, how has your lifestyle changed, whether it's from money or from anything, because of this job?
Yeah, lifestyle creep is a real thing, people. You should not spend money. I have these moments where I'm like, man, I lived in a college dorm and I was pretty happy. And now I'm really dramatic about like certain things in my apartment. I'm like, what happened? Definitely gotten better. Like, for example, I am grateful I get to live with my partner right now. We live kind of outside of Metro Atlanta, but I'm in a 2-bed apartment. That's really cool. I feel pretty stable. I can get myself groceries. I can eat out if I want. I will know that it is very true that as you make more money, you just have more expenses and more costs. So if you have not learned about taxes, you should learn about those because they take away a lot of your money. And then I think physical lifestyle, it's definitely hard. I have those days where I'm like, oh, like I sit at a desk 8 hours a day and I stare at a screen, and maybe I'm coming home and watching a movie, so I'm staring at another screen. And it's hard not to get in my head of, is this the best use of my time? Am I like not falling into maybe the more societal image of a responsible, successful adult? Because you're going to be tired. Anyone that does a 9 to 5, you're just tired, and that's okay. You might make plans with your friends, and then you might really not want to go out. That's okay. And you might have all these chores to do, and you're not going to get them done. And that was a huge thing for me because I was very much that overachiever in college. I kind of did everything. And then really having to slow down and know that's not a negative, and having to redefine what productivity means to me, and having to kind of better do self check-ins of what's my actual capacity right now. I've definitely had to really refocus my priorities and kind of somewhere know, like, no one's watching us, you know, no one's being like, oh my god, they left dishes in the sink, and oh, they just ate out for the 3rd time in a row, like they should cook and meal prep and be all healthy. Like, you're okay. So like,
Yeah.
I would say lifestyle, yes, has changed, but doesn't mean you're not doing good.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that as an overachiever, it's definitely hard to be an adult in the workforce, and it just adds stress. So I hear you on that.
I'm big, I love rock climbing, and that was kind of my main
Yeah.
thing in college. And then when I got this job, went to the gym, oh, fell off everything. And it was really hard not to get at myself and be like, am I just old now? Did something happen? And like, no, I've only been like 2 years out of college, but realizing, oh, I'm just tired. Yes, my body hasn't really moved because I've been sitting at a desk, but our brains are tired. Yeah, I guess that's one thing I'm learning, just like giving myself more grace. You know, when you're a full-time student, that is a job. I definitely don't want to take away from people's experience as a student, but it's just so weird changing to, man, I really don't get to see daylight. I am at an office, I then leave, it's dark, and I'm like, oh man, what am I supposed to do? That's one thing I'm working towards, is really what I've tried. It's not easy for me, but would I try to do more of an 8 to 4? Would I wake up early purposely so I could maybe get out earlier? Would I maybe find a fully remote job and such that I work evening hours, you know?
Yeah, I know. I am like loving doing these interviews, but I'm waiting for someone to tell me about their job, and it's like the perfect fit, and it's the whatever hours you want, and you get to be outside. And so I'm waiting, and it's not you, I guess, but it's fun to hear from folks and be like, is this the perfect job?
Gotta find someone in Europe that gets a month vacation. I would love to know what that's like.
No, totally. And then kind of just wrapping up here, if folks are in college and they're looking to get in this industry, what's going to matter to them more? Is it going to be a degree, experience, connections, something else? Or what's the biggest deal to get this job?
I would say all three, but in terms of ranking them, connections. Oh my gosh. In terms of any kind of job application platform, you got to think of it as a funnel. It is so much input and not a lot of output. So LinkedIn gets so many views. That's great. That's probably not the chance of you going to get a face-to-face interview. So I'd say connections first and foremost. My senior year, I reached out to alumni. I looked at people that had sustainability roles on LinkedIn. I messaged, I asked for a 30-minute networking call. And then at the end of those calls, I always asked, is there anyone else you would recommend me to learn about their job? I think in about 2 months, I had 30 different calls and I was networking. Wow. And none of those actually led to my current job. What it did help me do is actually refine and learn how to verbalize, what am I looking for? Like, what do I actually want to do? And then hearing their jobs also prepared me for, they, you know, a lot of them said like, hey, if you actually ended up ever applying in my company, I'd be happy to refer you. And so you're building that without this pressure of an interview. So connections first and foremost. And I would also note 3 of the most recent hires at my company have been referrals. They've been people saying,
Okay.
hey, we have someone looking for a job. Are you guys hiring? For someone to do the more formal job application process, which means putting a posting online, someone reading through all the applications, setting up all the interviews, that is someone's job. So that takes away
Oh,
from
yeah.
someone at our company doing their own work. So yeah, we'd like to avoid that. If we get a really good referral, we're like, okay, cool, let's talk to them. So that's number 1. 2 would be degree. I will say my field of work is specialized enough that without an engineering or sustainability focused degree, it could be a bit too much of a stretch for us to figure out if you would be happy at the company. It wouldn't be so much that
Yeah.
you're not capable to do the job. I find that during our hiring process, the questions we're asking ourselves is, hey, would they be happy here? Would they be challenged enough? Does the skill sets they've shared, could we give them that kind of work?
Yeah. That's interesting. I think that's a good approach to those interviews. And then if someone is on the job hunt and they're
Mm-hmm.
looking to gain skills, what should they focus on? Is there any skills, programs, or areas that they should be working on prior to applying?
I think required, no, but I would still just be prepared for sometimes that generational gap. You know,
Yeah.
it's there are some just traditional mannerisms that we should still do. Learn to send a thank you email after an interview. Learn how to make eye contact when you're talking to someone. Kind of address people more formally. So I think that's where I've seen kind of a difference is first impressions really do matter. And yeah, go that extra mile. I think people still really appreciate it if they're the ones that are the interviewer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I feel like you offered a really good perspective on your job, just working in general and just life. So I appreciate you taking the time. To wrap up, is there anything else that we didn't touch on and you wanted to talk about, or any final advice or guidance that you'd want to share?
I think one thing that comes to mind, because I think I still know people looking for jobs, I just remember wanting to give advice to like new graduates is no one knows what they're doing. No one's an expert. You're okay. Like you have Google. I have a really good friend, and I remember she sent me a job posting, and she's like, Anna, is this kind of some of the stuff you do? And I'm like, oh yeah. And she's like, okay, what do I need to be able to say in the interview? So I sent her some articles. I did kind of give her buzzwords. I was like, just mention this, and that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Oh, she got the job. And it was so funny because I remember like a few months into the job, I checked in, I said, hey, how's it going? And she felt kind of that imposter syndrome. Like, I don't actually know what I was talking about. Why I shouldn't have gotten this. Like, no, that's what the job's for. The job is for
Correct.
learning. You are
Yes.
going to become their expert, and just having that willingness to learn and enthusiasm for the job, that's something that can't be taught. That's what we want from people. So saying that is just encouragement. Like job search is the worst. It can be so demoralizing, and it can be just something that can feel so personal, and it's not, but we've made it kind of personal, unfortunately, with the way we
Yeah.
do it. So just encouragement for anyone looking, like whatever job you do find, as long as you put 100% forward, you're going to get something that applies to the rest of your life from it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time and thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you.